the heart and soul behind every business. Stories. Welcome to Business Story of the Week, hosted by me, Joshua Laurie. From setbacks to comebacks, from tragedies to triumphs, we inspire entrepreneurs through conversations that matter. Witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. Whether it's your career, business, or life, your success is always one story away. This is Business Story of the Week.
Hey, this is Melanie Herschorn, and you are tuning in to Business Story of the Week.
Fantastic. And that is the lovely Melanie Herschorn. She is going to be our guest for today. And of course, my name is Joshua. I am your host. Every day, every episode, every week, we ask you a question. And today's question on this episode is, what makes a book more than just words? More than just words on a page? But can it be a beacon for your brand? Well, Melanie is the perfect guest to answer that question. Melanie Herschorn wants to help you step into your spotlight as an authority, as a book marketing and publishing strategist for business owners, consultants, and speakers worldwide. She's on a mission to support and empower her clients to share their message with the world. Her experience as a celebrity publicist, award-winning journalist, and longtime entrepreneur gives Melanie a unique 360-degree view to guide her clients to create brand awareness, sell books, and position themselves as a subject matter expert. Her new book, Make a Big Impact with Your Book, is available now. And today, Melanie is available for this episode. She's going to be talking about her insight, her experience, and everything else. Melanie, thank you for coming on the show. How are you doing?
Great, Joshua. Thank you so much for having me.
Melanie, I love talking to publicists, guests here on this show because I just love books. I love reading books as well, but I love getting the insight. I also get author guests as well, but I think I enjoy having publicists because their insight are just, I think is completely different than that of an author. Of course, you've written your own book as well, but Melanie, before we really start getting into it, I always like to start off the show this way. What was the young Melanie Herschorn like? Did she always love reading books? Did she always know she was going to be a storyteller, a book writer, an author, a publicist? What would the young Melanie say to the Melanie of today?
The young Melanie would be really proud of the Melanie of today. I had a hard time learning how to read.
Wow.
And yeah, I remember being in second grade and I was struggling. Everybody else was reading chapter books, and I was lying in bed at night going, Mom, what does this word say? And then I would spell, and I had no idea what the book was about because I didn't understand half the words I was reading. So it took a really long time for me to get the hang of reading. And then it was always a struggle. So at the same time, I've always loved storytelling, and I dreamed of one day being an author. And when I started working with authors, I could see that, I could do this too. And so now here I am, 40 odd years later, published book, and I help others publish books too.
I love that. I love that it feels like you kept at it. You were persistent with your reading, even though like you wanted to read your bedtime stories. You couldn't read them yourself. But 40 odd years later, you are helping others read their own books, get their own books published as well. Melanie, it's a fascinating story. It's an adorable story as well because I feel like a lot of people could relate to that as well with the difficulty in reading. Not just as toddlers, even adults have difficulty reading, right? And it makes them feel like they could never be an author, even though it's their dream to be an author. Melanie, you talked about that. You talked about storytelling. You talked about being an author as well. First off, talk to us a little bit about your journey, your career. Of course, you have a background in journalism as well, so you have extensive writing experience. What I want to ask is, what came first? With the journalist Melanie came first, with the author Melanie came first? Did they overlap at one time? What was your relationship like with words and writing? Did you always love it? Was there a love-hate relationship in there? Talk to us about it.
I love writing, love words. It's amazing how you can find just the right word to really stick it to somebody. but but also to really get your point across.
Yes,
You
of
can
course.
really you can change somebody's mood. You can change somebody's life with words, with stories. And so the storyteller has always been inside me. I think the journalist has always been inside me too. I think that they go together really nicely. One thing is that the way I write is very to the point. I'm not a fiction writer, and I'm not going to sit there describing scenery. I'm just going to tell you what's happening and get out.
Very journalist, of course. Very, 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 fundamentally journalist of you to just say it like it is. I'm just gonna get out there and just get it done. Do you feel like that works in fiction writing as well? Maybe not as effectively, but also the
It
deeper
depends.
question that I wanted to ask was, how did your career in journalism influence your approach when it came to book marketing and writing books in general, being an author? How did that go hand in hand?
It gave me a lot of confidence, especially with the editing process and with getting to the point and understand. I can look at a big whole pile of words and sift through it and figure out what the through line is and what the mission and the purpose really is. And so that really helps when I'm helping clients write their books, publish their books, market their books, because we're really getting down to the crux of what they want to say. A lot of people have all these ideas and they don't know where to go. Because you have this very successful show, that you have to market it. And if you're not marketing it right to the correct audience, you might as well be talking to nobody, because people aren't going to listen. So I think that having the journalistic background, having the storytelling background, all that gets together, and I'm able to really help people say what they want to say in a succinct way.
Wow. And of course, you're helping others to do the same today. And always it's always the difficulty of wanting to, you have an idea and you want to put that into words. That's always the difficult part. And for you, you're helping, readers, you're helping authors publish, get their books published, getting to write their art, write their craft into those pages. Melanie, what were the biggest obstacles that you see authors face, and how did you help them overcome that?
Sometimes the biggest obstacle is themselves,
Of course.
because they think, well, is my story worth sharing? Is anybody going to read this? Is anybody going to care? What if, what if, what if? All that fear, all that imposter syndrome. So that's one of the biggest issues. And then next issue is that once they get going, they are so compartmentalized, and they will say, okay, well, I just have to get to the editing phase. I just have to get to the publishing phase. And they don't see far enough down the line that they really need to start marketing before the book is published. Because what happens is
Interesting.
there's this, you have this big launch, right? And picture a rocket launching into the sky, and then if there's no marketing to back it up, it's just going to fall.
It's just gonna fall.
So that's another big mistake that I see a lot.
Melanie, where do you think it starts to overlap? I mean, you talked about like marketing and being an author and having to do marketing before the book is published. But a lot of these authors aren't naturally marketers. In fact, if I'm thinking about writing a book, I'm just thinking about writing the book, right? I don't really mindset it to be a marketer, to do the book marketing myself. But I guess that is where you come in, Melanie. How do you now come into the picture, help them start marketing their book? And really, how do you get them to start marketing their own book, even if it wasn't in their plans in the first place?
Okay. Well, I guess it depends on the book. Now, I generally work with nonfiction authors.
I
So
see.
when we're putting their book together, they have a plan, a reason. It's often to help that they can take this book and they can leverage it to grow their business. So they may say, okay, now I have a book, but what do I do? And I want to tell you that everything inside your book is a treasure trove of marketing content. You can take that
Yes.
and repurpose it for so many things. You could create your own podcast, have blog posts, have social media posts, have an entire keynote speech pulled out right from the pages of your book. So I'm trying to show them that the book itself is a book, but it's also so much more to use for your marketing.
Love that. And of course, it's the stories are there, right? Like, I mean, it may be a nonfiction, but there are still stories, and people
Absolutely.
love stories. We love storytellers, and the stories are there to be retold, rehashed, repurposed, and it's all in there. Like you said, it's a treasure trove. Melanie, I love now that you, of course, guide the writers, guide the authors to find this treasure trove of information, of stories in their books. But how do you work with them to make sure that their book stands out? Because, a dime a dozen, nonfiction is everywhere. But how do you make sure that every author and what they write, making sure that it stands out?
So it all again starts with the message. You have to get really, really clear on what the message is that you want to share with your audience. Even if the book's already published, you can take a book and slightly change the message. I'll give you an example. I worked with
Please.
this fantastic author who wrote a memoir in the pandemic. And I don't know about you, but I'm kind of tired of talking about the pandemic, and most people are, right? So when we started working together, he said, "Well, I don't know how to get people to be excited about this book that really talks about things that nobody wants to talk about anymore." And I said, "Well, the story, yes, it takes place in the pandemic, but what it really is a story about a father trying to parent his neurodivergent son." And so when we reframed the message, he then got into this big bookstore that he had been wanting to get into based on the pitch that we crafted, because it's all about the messaging.
Yes, absolutely. I love that you found that thread, so to speak, that kind of like there is a message that he is trying to say, right? There's a story that but there's a deeper story in that. And I think that tugs on those heartstrings, that tugs on the emotions, and it translates better into marketing, so to speak, because, this is something that everyone can relate to, something that everyone can put in their books, and then that people will enjoy more. But not every author gets to see that, not every author gets to knows that, because we're fixated on the message that we want to put out. And I feel like you come in there and say, like, wow, this is the deeper story that I see in here, and here's what we can do about it. And of course, this is what you do with your company, formerly known as VIP Book Marketing. Today and just recently, you just let me know that this name has changed to Big Impact Books, which is, of course, the title of your book as well. Your new book, Make a Big Impact with Your Book. Melanie, talk to us about that. Talk about what you do with the publishing that you do, with the work that you do with all the authors, and of course, talk to us about the name change.
Well, okay. Thank you very much for splashing the fun news. I really appreciate it, because it's been a long time coming. I've been helping authors work on all aspects of their book for a long time, and I felt that the old name was very narrow and it just said book marketing, and what I do is so much more.
I see,
So,
of
how
course.
I help authors is from the writing process. My team, we can edit and do the layout and the cover design and publish and promote the book. So it's really from beginning to end of the publishing phase.
Right.
So Big Impact Books, well, yes, it is actually based on the fact that I named the book Make a Big Impact with Your Book, but it's also what I want my clients to have, which is big impact with
Right.
their book.
And it's not just about, I guess, like, it again, it goes back to what you do earlier. It's not just about just putting the message out. It's like your message can be so much more, can have such a bigger impact. We just need to find the stories between the lines. But it's, again, it's not just about publishing the books. Melanie, you talk about everything else. You talk about building their brands, you talk about putting yourself out there. Melanie, what is it that Big Impact Books does? And for our audience and listeners who are interested, please let us know.
Well, if you want to write, publish, and promote a book, that is what we do. We help nonfiction authors, attorneys, business owners, wealth advisors go from I have an idea to I have a published book and I'm marketing it successfully, and it's helping me get new business.
Melanie, talk to us about a success story that stands out, one that you love sharing. Talk to us about one of the authors that you publish and how they've changed their lives and how they've made a big impact through the help
Okay,
of
absolutely.
Melanie Herschorn herself.
Okay, absolutely. So, gosh, I have to pick one. Okay, so I'll pick one gentleman who wrote a book. He is a wealth advisor, and he wrote a book for other wealth advisors.
Wow.
And so when we started creating a marketing plan for him, he had realized he was just kind of lurking on LinkedIn. He never really posted anything. He just kind of, he's just scrolling. He'd see what other people were doing, but he never made any
Right.
posts. So we created an entire plan for him. He started posting on LinkedIn, and all of a sudden his connections started reaching out to him and inviting him to speaking events where he would be the keynote. They were paying him and buying his books in bulk. And then together he created a new podcast, and he just actually reached out to me recently that he's got a new book in the works because it's built this new part of his business, just being an author. And it's really exciting.
That's really exciting stuff because it feels like they come in wanting to be an author, but they come out being so much more, achieving so much more,
It's
adding
the
more to their dreams.
confidence.
The
Yeah,
confidence, exactly. I imagine that it's one thing to publish a book, you get confidence there, but then you start marketing it, you start standing out more as an expert. It must be life transforming, Melanie.
it is. It is really, truly.
And absolutely, and for you on your side as well, that you must have experienced a lot of changes in you as well. The more that you help authors, the more that you help individuals achieve their dreams as an author and become so much more. And I love it.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah. I
love it.
mean, I'll tell you, my daughter she's 12 and a half, and I don't know, she picked up a copy of my book that was just sitting here, and she starts reading it, and she says, wow, you're an author. That's really
Oh,
cool, Mom. And I
oh, that
mean,
is so cute.
it's just like little things like that can really make you feel so good.
Absolutely. I love that. Oh man. Oh, what better validation is there than for your child to think, wow, you're really cool, you're an author. And the word right there is like you are an author, I think does so much wonder. And of course, Melanie, this is the wonder that the life that you create for your clients and for the authors that you help. Melanie, I was very excited to have you on the show. I'm very excited to having that publisher insight every time. Melanie, the website right now is vipbookmarketing.com, but of course, again, the new name is bigimpactbooks.com. Is there a new website
There is a
URL?
new website. It is yourbigimpactbook.com.
That's it, yourbigimpactbook.com. Make sure to check that website out. Melanie, where else can we find you? Where else can we connect with you?
I'm on Instagram at Big Impact Books. I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm on Facebook. I'm pretty much
Fantastic.
everywhere. Yeah.
All our audience and listeners out there, make sure to go check out your Big Impact Book. Go check out Melanie on Instagram. She's on LinkedIn as well. Go send her a connect request. We are connected there, of course. That's where we met. And Melanie, I'm just very, very thankful for the insight and for your time coming here onto the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And to all our audience and listeners out there, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it enlightened your dream or reignited your dream of being an author. If you have those dreams still, you know where to find Melanie. Go check her out. Melanie, one last bit of wisdom you'd like to leave behind the audience. What would it be? Take us home.
So, if you've been thinking about it and you have a dream in your heart to be an author, and you think, well, my story doesn't matter, It does. Because
Does.
you are special and unique, and your experience is different from everybody else's experience. So even if you do the same kind of work, most people don't buy just one book on a topic. So go ahead and write that book.
Fantastic. Go ahead and write that book. What a way to close this episode. What wisdom, what insight. And Melanie, thank you once again for coming on the show.
Thank you.
To all our audience and listeners out there, I hope you guys love this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. And we will see you on the next one. Bye bye.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.